course and
Yeah.
why you came to the University of Portsmouth to study.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, cool. Well, hi, I'm Matt O'Donovan, or Matt O'D, studying contemporary fine art. Quickly, do I look at the camera or do I look at you guys?
Yeah, no, camera's fine.
Alright, cool. Well, yeah, I'll start that again. So Matt O'D, I'm Matt O'Donovan, studying contemporary fine art in my second year. Why did I come to Portsmouth Uni? Well, I think the main thing was I did my access course here because I didn't have any A-levels or anything like that, so I'm a mature student, and did my access course in order to get myself into whatever university I kind of wanted to choose. And it was kind of twofold. I was looking at quite a lot of places in London and various places, and because I've already moved out of home and I'd already done the whole kind of moving away and being independent thing, I kind of realised when I'd gone up to London to have a look around at the environment. So I think environment is as important as the university, and kind of realised that nothing was really offering anything particularly more than Portsmouth as far as culturally or architecturally. I mean, and what I mean by that is that you're in an environment in which you're just like, oh well, actually it's a bit of a shithole, to be honest, and Portsmouth is less of that. So I'm from Havant anyway, so I'm relatively local. My parents live near here, and so it all kind of started to make sense that actually, I mean, sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. And then perhaps there was a twist of fate that I didn't actually get any of my original offers because of the mad rush to get into university before the fees went up. So I was like essentially competing against the entire country to get into very, very kind of prestigious universities. And I kind of got lucky that not getting in gave me an extra chance to come to Portsmouth because I got that extra UCAS bonus. And by that point, this is where I wanted to go anyway, because I'd already made my connections, I'd already kind of met the tutors, and I'd already started producing work that was, I felt, to a standard which I was interested in progressing. And at that point I'd made a transition from wanting to study illustration for graphic novels in Wales to studying contemporary fine art, which was more of a shift conceptually and intellectually than kind of practice, because I kind of realised that fine art and contemporary fine art was more of a kind of, I got more out of it intellectually, and there's more scope for kind of intellectual exploration than I could necessarily find in illustration, which I kind of had more associated with a kind of fun, perhaps more self-indulgent desire to just draw fun cartoon characters. And I figured, well, I can already draw. I've already got to a level in which I'm relatively comfortable in that, and this is something I can practice in my own time, which is something I'm continuing to do, like drawing and writing scripts and for graphic novels and things. So I figured, well, actually contemporary fine art is something I'd like to kind of further explore for my own flexing of my brain muscles, essentially. So that's why I decided to do this.
Good answer. Right, let's go into your work. Explain your work for us. You can do it bit by bit, or you can just say it as a whole.
Yeah, sure. Right, well this work in particular, I'd say, is a progression from types of work I do before. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm locked into a style of work. I kind of try to work in whatever suits the concept. So in that case, I'm a conceptual artist, and every work I do is working towards a particular idea. For example, prior to this lot, I was trying to do work that was not communicating anything about myself. I was trying to make work that was simply aesthetically pleasing and thus meaningless, but with the idea that the viewer was going to be viewing the work, and so trying to create an experience for them. And kind of realised that during that process that there was nothing I could do that would not communicate something about myself, because I wasn't in control of what people are receiving from the artwork, and thus my fingerprint is always going to be on it in some kind of way. There's always something that somebody could analyse about me, about the artwork that I've done. So my artwork is always communicating something about me, whether I like it or not. So I figured, taking that into account, I thought, bollocks, well, in this case I'll take it the other direction. I'll communicate something totally about me, and something like a really private moment. So this work here is called A Private Moment, and it is really kind of a direct kind of expression emotional expression about something I actually felt in a moment of my life in an environment that was reflective of my life. Before I kind of dive straight into this, they're all the works, all these 3 works are part of a greater collective of a concept called, based on, Jack Lacan's, whatever his fucking first name is, Lacan's idea, mirror phase. He's a psychoanalyst from the 1950s, part of the French Surrealist movement, but he kind of developed a view of the contemporary mind, really, based around something called the mirror phase, and it's the idea that people, when they're kids, when they're babies, basically associate with themselves with their mirror ideal, and this is kind of basically the development of their ego, their alter ego, and can pretty much shape how they become who they are later on in life. So the kind of each piece of work I'm doing is distinct and individual, but kind of tied in with that kind of underlying theme. So everything's got something to do with mirrors in it, which is not tenuous. There's a reason for that. But so back onto this piece. Everything you see is kind of representative of an environment where I lived. You know, I had like a bathroom in my like a sink in my room, in my bathroom, not in my bathroom, in my bedroom. Sorry, my bedroom walls were this kind of slightly paler, mankier colour than this, but basically it was like I had a little mini bathroom in my room, and it became very claustrophobic, especially when living with other people became an issue, and the environment became an issue, and then it just became reflective of the university life became an issue, and then it's the kind of lack of personal space and the lack of freedoms all gets compressed into this one tiny little room which you can call your own. And that's the one place where you have your private moments, the one place where you can afford to not be diplomatic around people, the one place where you don't have to put on necessarily a face in order to benefit, you know, the kind of functioning of your peers and the world you're a part of. You know, you can't get angry and start just mindlessly getting leery to people just because you feel like it, not in a professional environment and not in the kind of a social environment, unless you want to kind of essentially jeopardize, you know, kind of life for yourself. So I think there's a lot of what's going on underneath what people show as their face. I mean, what you see of people isn't what's going on underneath it. And there's what people show you is a choice of how they want to be perceived, opposed to how they are actually feeling. So the whole mirror phase is like the kind of idea of looking in the mirror and seeing what is underneath, opposed to what's on the face value, which is something that is not necessarily representative of the truth, but something that you want to be representative of the truth. And I think when you're trying to necessarily represent how you feel, which isn't in conjunction with how you feel, then it all kind of starts kind of contracting and getting stressful, and things start falling apart, and eventually you have to be authentic with people to how you really feel, and things can start to break down and things can start to go wrong, and if you keep it repressed, you start going mental, which is once again tied back into the idea of the mirror phase. So it's kind of like a kind of positive look at the dark side of what's going on underneath people is really, I guess, a interpretation of what this could be, because it's not really set in stone. But yeah, there you go, that's that.
That's great, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Was it?
Anything you'd like to mention for?
Yeah, actually there's one piece about the practice that is also a theme going through the works, and that's the theme of mistakes and of exploring. And when you take a step in a particular direction, when you have time, money, and deadlines ahead of you, and you don't know where you're going, you don't really know what you're doing, you just have an idea of where you want to take it. You have to kind of take risks, and you have to kind of step in places that you haven't been before and where other people haven't been before. No one else knows what this was going to look like, because it was all in my head. And I had no idea of how I was going to make it, but I didn't necessarily know how I was going to make it. I had to go work on hunches. And everything that was being made is being made by me, and thus mistakes get made because I'm limited to my own technical abilities and my own knowledge. That doesn't necessarily mean that the mistakes that are made thus make it a bad piece of work. It just makes it whatever it is going to be. And so it's the kind of idea that whatever you're making, if you kind of I like to use the phrase unconsecrate yourself from your work, thus make the work inconsequential to how it is, then it will become genuine to whatever it is. And that it's philosophically, it's the idea that whatever will be, you know. So it's the idea of trying to kind of free yourself of the kind of, is it going to be good, is it going to be shit? I don't know, but it's going to be, as long as it's in line with the original concepts, then it will look like however it's going to look like in the end. Whether, like for example, this is all cracked and bodged up because, you know, I hung it bodged up because it was just me hanging it. You know, I didn't get things right, but that I kept it because it wasn't done on purpose, but it all kind of adds into the overall kind of feeling of falling apart. So yeah, so everything is as it is because it is what it is, how it is. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks very much.
Cool.